Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in today's show, Tzu Chi volunteers in South Africa are holding a volunteer training seminar in Durban, and joining them are their counterparts from Mozambique. In Taiwan, we joined the survivors of Typhoon Feria in 2005, who are finally moving into the newly built Manzhou DaAi village. And in Malaysia, Tzu Chi volunteers are holding a relief distribution at the Batu Pahat Tzu Chi Liaison Office. In Durban, South Africa, Tzu Chi volunteer training seminars take place only twice a year. If you miss one, it's a 6-month wait until the next one. This was the dilemma faced by one Mozambique volunteer, Tsai Dailing, when her husband suddenly wasn't able to attend with her. Instead, she recruited a fellow worker to go with her to learn more about Tzu Chi. Besides attending seminars, the two of them also visited an orphanage and other care recipients to see how local volunteers are walking the Tzu Chi path. He's an excellent worker, but he wants his time off to be unrelated to work. So when he found out that this volunteer training seminar would take up his weekend, he thought about it and said to me, "Okay, I want to know what Tzu Chi is about."
He is Nigel Neusa, who rode 10 hours on a bus to attend the Winter 2012 Durban Tzu Chi Volunteers Training Seminar here in Africa to learn about Tzu Chi.
The first touch in my heart and my head is I will do what I exactly know. I'm a lawyer, and I will invite other lawyers, invite my neighbor to join to do something for these people.
The Tzu Chi Volunteer Training Seminar is held only twice a year in South Africa. There are 400 volunteers attending from Durban, Swaziland, and even Tsai Dailing from Mozambique.
After the seminar, I really wanted to bring all of this back, the lectures, the Dharma, and these values. The most important thing is for me to practice these virtues, and then I'll be able to influence more people, because one person cannot do it all.
Tzu Chi in Mozambique is just getting off the ground. These two volunteers feel very overwhelmed. Fortunately, South Africa Tzu Chi volunteer Pan Mingshui, who has a lot of experience, is there to provide guidance.
It was difficult to begin off, but until one day, there are really good-hearted people. There are so many good-hearted people join us.
At the seminar, you can see children jotting down notes from the lectures, hoping to absorb just a bit more wisdom and Dharma. Besides attending lectures, Tsai Dailing and Nigel Neusa also visited Durban's orphanage and other care recipients. In South Africa, there are many children who have been orphaned by AIDS. Durban Tzu Chi volunteers provide a home for these children and also provide them with hot meals made from the food grown in their DaAi garden.
Dear, you will find out, oh, what we have is too much. How about this lady survive like this? What we complain? Nothing complain.
The Mozambique volunteers hope to take back home with them all that they have learned on this volunteer training seminar trip. And put it all into practice in their hometown.
Moving to Asia to encourage the people of Northeast Japan in rebuilding their homes after the 3/11 earthquake, Japan Tzu Chi volunteers showed the animated film based on their journey by sea taken by Venerable Jianzhen to spread Buddhism in Japan, and performed a silent performances at the Higashi Matsushima City Cultural Center. The event was also joined by local residents, and the volunteers hope to encourage even more people to become bodhisattvas.
The synchronized sign language musical moved the entire audience. Among the performers, septuagenarian Michio Sugawara is a resident of Higashi Matsushima City. Although he is afflicted with a skin condition, he took to the stage to take part in the performance.
Venerable Jianzhen came to Japan to spread the Dharma. As soon as I found out that this troupe was performing, I decided that no matter what, I would come to join in.
The mayor of Higashi Matsushima City was also in attendance and expressed his gratitude to Tzu Chi. He said that every photograph of the 3/11 earthquake was proof of what local residents had undergone.
As a mayor of the city, I have come to express my gratitude. Doing a good job of rebuilding our community is the best way for me to repay you all.
The animated film told the many trials and tribulations Venerable Jianzhen underwent in bringing Dharma to Japan. The monk's determination and perseverance are an inspiration for the residents of this disaster-scarred region.
I'm really moved. I can't express it in words. It's wonderful to be alive.
If you could lend us this film, or if we could continue show this in Japan, it would surely bring the Dharma to an even greater number of people.
Determination and caring go hand in hand while Dharma and good deeds complement each other. This is the ideal that Tzu Chi has imprinted in the hearts and minds of the residents of Northeast Japan. Japan's Tzu Chi volunteers have become the modern counterparts of Jianzhen, helping the Dharma to take deep root in their land.
Also in Japan, Tzu Chi volunteers also arrived at the city of Takajo Cultural Center in Miyagi Prefecture to bring silent language performances and the animated film Venerable Jianzhen. Tzu Chi volunteers Su Meijing and her family of 6 took part in the performances. They said after doing so, they understood the importance of continuing their love and care for the residents of Northeast Japan, and they hope to spread Buddhism into the hearts of each and every resident in Japan. The movements of the volunteers are all in sync with each other. 30 volunteers use bodily gestures to represent the path taken by Venerable Jianzhen and his determination to spread Buddhism in Japan.
The master knows that the road taken by Venerable Jianzhen was hard, and in a way, it is like the journey taken by the local residents after the 3/11 earthquake. The master wants us to spread our blessings and Buddhism in Japan.
Taking part in the performance as Venerable Jianzhen and the front of the ship are twin brothers. Their mother, little brother, aunt and uncle are also taking part. They say that the performance enables them to understand the importance of bringing warmth and courage to the local residents.
To carry on the reasonability given by the master is to encourage more people to join Tzu Chi.
过程当然很辛苦，
体会到真的那种东渡的感觉。
好像还真的是有哦。
To get everyone together for the practice sessions is hard because the stage volunteers all live in different places, but they know that with strong determination like Venerable Jianzhen's, everything is possible.
I am very touched, although many of us couldn't join all the practice sessions because of work and school. Since many of us had to kneel down during the performances, we were left with knee pain.
All the performances spread the message that regardless of obstacles, Tzu Chi volunteers will always be there for the local residents. Staying in Japan, the 3-day 3/11th earthquake photography exhibition and the showing of the animated film Venerable Jianzhen and related performances successfully concluded on September 23rd. The volunteers hope to spread the monks' determination to spread Buddhism and to encourage more people to become bodhisattvas. This is the sign language performance based on the treacherous journey taken by Venerable Jianzhen to Japan to spread Buddhism. The performance starts with 50 volunteers in the city of Higashi Matsushima and ends with 30 volunteers in Takajo. Through the performances, volunteers hope to spread the message when you are willing to give, Tzu Chi will always be there to welcome you.
I heard about the suffering that disaster victims went through. It is great to get to visit the exhibition.
Through these events, the Master hopes to spread our blessings. For Venerable Jianzhen, the purpose of traveling all the way from China to Japan was to spread Buddhism.
This time, Japanese volunteers from Northeast Japan and Tzu Chings took part in the performances. Other than school, the Tzu Chings also dedicated their times to join the performance.
I will be very happy if our sign language performance can bring warmth and support to the disaster victims.
It seems hard to study and practice, but I felt great after taking part in the performances.
It was really touching when we look at each recording of the performances because we could see growth in ourselves too.
Through the performances, Tzu Chi volunteers hope to bring strength and courage to the disaster victims. Although the rebuilding process is still far from finished, the volunteers promise to stay alongside the local residents and help them overcome any obstacles along the way. Moving to Taiwan, in July of 2005, Typhoon Feria left a trail of destruction in Taiwan. 10 families from Gangzai village in Manzhou Township of Pingdong County were killed by a mudslide. Since then, the surviving villagers have been relocated to a temporary shelter in an abandoned school. After 7 long years, the Manzhou DaAi village was finally completed, and the 17 families, including some from the Fenshui-Ling area, moved into their new homes last weekend.
Moving into their new home, residents young and old are all smiles. Here in Pingdong, the new Manzhou DaAi village includes a community center and 20 permanent homes, with 17 families moving in.
When we first came to carry out a survey, we saw how unsatisfactory their living conditions were. Today, we are happy to see the residents finally settling down. We have planned everything we could for them.
These are the stones we used for the exterior wall. This is a part that we built from the remains. We didn't transport this rubble away because it will harm our environment. We also save the cost of transporting it outside and then buy more stones to fill the structure.
To build the permanent housing, after the classrooms were torn down, the old building materials were processed and used as the ground foundation. This not only saved the cost of transporting the waste elsewhere, but also the cost of buying more fillings to cover the foundation. Finally, having a house to call home, residents happily arrange their furniture and home appliances as they're ready to begin a new chapter of their lives.
Of the 17 households moving into the new Manzhou DaAi village, 10 families were residents of Gangzai village, which suffered a mudslide in the wake of Typhoon Feria in 2005. They included Pan In-zong's family. After the disaster, Pan and his 4 children had to seek temporary shelter in an abandoned school. Over the past 7 years, the children have had to put up with mosquito bites and sleepless nights. So moving into their new homes is a dream come true for this family.
This is my first experience of moving into a new home. My children once said to me, "Dad, I study at school, and when I go home, I go back to a school too. When are we going to get a home of our own?" When I heard that, I was really heartbroken.
After years of waiting, the Pan family's dream finally comes true as they move into their new home.
Thanks to the help from Tzu Chi, I finally have a home and we can have a more stable life. We don't know where to begin, but we are really happy to have a new house and our own room. Before, I had to sleep with my brothers, but now I have a room to myself with more convenience and privacy.
Pan Zilong is overjoyed and moved to tears. For 7 years, she has had to share a room with her father and brothers in an abandoned classroom where they lived temporarily. With a room to herself, she couldn't be happier.
I will put the bed here and over there the computer. Next to it, a closet. You can open both sides. Before, I really wanted a home of our own, and now thanks to Tzu Chi, we have that. So I can work on my next goal now.
With her heart at ease in settling in a new home, Pan Zilong says she can now focus on her studies and she looks forward to a bright future.
Still in Taiwan, last week marked the 13th anniversary of the earthquake that struck Taiwan on September 21st, 1999. Next, we visit Chen Junzhang, a 17-year-old high school student inspired by Tzu Chi volunteers who came to his elementary school to tell the stories from Jingsi aphorisms. Chen does volunteer work every weekend at the Jingsi Books and Cafe at the Tzu Chi Nantou Liaison Office. Chen became involved with the organization, learning to give selflessly of himself.
Rearranging items on the shelves is easy work for 17-year-old Chen Junzhang, but even though he's an old hand at it, he still pays careful attention to his task.
Every item has its placement on the shelves. It's a reminder for me to take care in whatever I do and make sure everything is in its proper place.
When carrying out his duties, his every action is careful and precise. Here, Chen is wrapping Tzu Chi publications in a blessing cloth. He says that this attitude towards his work goes back to his days at Nantou Elementary School.
At that time, Tzu Chi volunteers often came to our school, giving selflessly of themselves. That's what moved me most, their commitment to selfless giving.
Chen Junzhang takes us back to Nantou Elementary School, where every nook and cranny holds memories for him.
Sometimes the DaAi mothers come here to lead activities, and although it was really hot and sweaty, it was always a lot of fun.
The DaAi mothers made a deep and lasting impression on Chen Junzhang with the moving stories they told from Jingsi aphorisms.
They were just simple stories, but they all contained a great moral. I remember one story of a poor old woman. It taught me to treat everyone fairly.
Chen Junzhang grew up listening to Tzu Chi's aphoristic stories, as he himself was eventually moved to join Tzu Chi.
The DaAi mothers came to our school to teach us sign language and lead us in activities. All of the DaAi mothers had such sweet dispositions, and that I wanted to learn more about Tzu Chi culture.
Chen Junzhang never missed one of the sign language classes. As a result, he gained an understanding of Tzu Chi.
He's an excellent student, very attentive. He's very smart, and if there is something he doesn't understand, he'll immediately ask questions.
Here, Chen is taking part in a tea ceremony class because learning how to brew a pot of tea is part of practical education.
When I take part in the tea ceremony, I was quiet and concentrated. By doing so, I can practice Tzu Chi culture in my daily life.
After class, he always helped the other classmates by putting things away. He's a very responsible young person.
With morality and reason as the basis of its teachings, Tzu Chi has allowed Chen Junzhang to learn gratitude and giving, making good use of his formative years.
In Malaysia's Batu Pahat Tzu Chi Liaison Office, Tzu Chi volunteers conducted a relief distribution for care recipients. During the event, they also taught the children of the care recipients to be filial to their parents. When the children served tea to their parents, many of the recipients were moved to tears. Different ethnicity groups such as Indians, Chinese, and Malays attended the event, but most were Muslims. To many people, the differences in race or faith were not an issue, and the event was held in a warm atmosphere.
On the day of the distribution, the care recipients arrived one after another. One of them was Jeffrey, whose left leg was amputated after a workplace accident. When he arrived alone on his scooter, Tzu Chi volunteers promptly helped him inside the building.
I was an electrician before, but a pole broke and I fell. I am not able to work now, so I am working very hard at rehabilitation.
The volunteers prepare some food for the care recipients and oversee the children serving tea to their parents to show their filial piety.
I am very touched because my child is serving tea to me, and I really appreciate that.
I want to thank Tzu Chi for teaching our children to respect the elderly and be filial to their caregivers.
Tzu Chi volunteers respectfully hand out aid supplies and blessings. A sign language performance brings everyone's hearts closer together. Regardless of their ethnicity, they get along in harmony.
In China, Tzu Chi was invited to set up a booth to demonstrate its humanitarian spirits at the annual Pan-Asia International Agriculture Expo in Kunming of Yunnan Province. Tzu Chi volunteers also seized this opportunity to recruit more local volunteers. Some took a day off from work to serve as one-day volunteers, while others took part in the tea gathering held in the Tzu Chi office in hopes of learning more about Tzu Chi.
The Jin Shi tea sold at Tzu Chi's booth has an extra touch of love.
When we are weeding, we will not remove the roots, so that when it is raining, the soil can preserve the water to keep the tea plantation moist.
At this annual agricultural expo, Tzu Chi volunteers are introducing their ideals and culture to local residents. And many people are inspired to serve as one-day volunteers.
There are many brothers and sisters, as well as volunteers here helping without any expectations. It really touches me.
Moreover, a tea party is held every night for volunteers to exchange their experiences. One of them is Jin Fei Bao, a renowned adventurer and advocate for vegetarianism.
There is nothing we cannot achieve as long as we have the determination. When we devote our love, our life becomes more meaningful.
Tzu Chi's ideals resonate with the attendees, making them determined to join Tzu Chi.
I am really moved to join such a warm family. I have not stopped smiling all day because I am really happy.
We are family. It's good to see you come to China to help poor people living in the mountain areas.
Cherishing the chance to help people, one will have a more meaningful life.
At the end of the show, we go to Thailand, where Tzu Chi volunteers recently held a 5-day mooncake charity sale for the construction of a new Jingsi Hall. Prior to the event, community volunteers also came to help out with the making and packing of the mooncakes. The mooncakes were given the special name of Gratitude Mooncakes. That's all the time we have for. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.